Hello everyone, and welcome to my day 1 recap of the Summit 5. With TI6 being only 3 weeks away, this is going to be the second last tournament before the biggest Dota 2 tournament of the year. And since 6.88b was just released yesterday, it will most likely be the patch TI6 will be played on. So this tournament is very important for teams to get prepared, as well as for us to see how strong these teams are relative to each other going into TI6. So let's jump into it. In our first series, we have FDL, the upcoming American team, going up against the hottest team in Dota 2 currently, Team OG. FDL played very well during the laning stage in the first game. They were ahead in kills and limited miracles farm on the Tinker. However, OG was still able to keep up with them in farm, and at 21 minutes, FDL had a really questionable play top lane, which lost them their gem as well as their momentum. Once the game was in OG's control, it was pretty much over from that point as OG went out into Game 1. Unlike Game 1, Game 2 did not start very well for FDL as OG had a huge lead with 16 kills to 2 at 20 minutes. FDL tried their best to hang in and CCNC was able to keep up in farm with OG's carry. However, everyone else on FDL was too far behind, and eventually OG accumulated enough lead to siege down FDL's mid barracks. And then all it took was one more teamfight win, and that gave OG the 2-0 victory as they move on to the next round. In the second series, we have Fanatic versus Digital Chaos. DC tried to run the Drow bench combo with Windrunner mid. In theory, their lineup should do very well early, which enables them to snowball and take objectives quickly. However, they achieved none of that, as Mushi was very active early despite playing the Medusa, which mitigated DC's snowball attempt. And because DC did not shut down the Medusa early game, they had no way of dealing with him later on in teamfights. Also, Fnatic's illusion comp with Shadow Demon and Terrorblade plus Medusa proved to be very powerful, since they could safely chip down DC's building without putting anyone in risk, which means that Fnatic was able to take Game 1 handily by 36 minutes. In Game 2, the game was even for most of the early game. However, Mushi's farm on the Luna was far higher than anyone else in the game, and once he reached a critical mass, he was just too farmed for DC to deal with. DC also had a very hard time killing anyone on Fnatic's side during teamfights, since Fnatic had a tanky Bristleback and a super farm Luna in the front line, with IO and Venge to save people when necessary. At around 32 minutes into the game, Fnatic was able to win the teamfight easily. They almost team wiped DC, only allowing the Juggernaut to get away, while only losing their Batrider. And with the insane pushing power of Luna, they were able to take 2 barracks in a matter of seconds, and secure their 2-0 victory against Digital Chaos. In the final series of Day 1, we have the winner of 2 previous series facing off against each other. In the first game, it was very even for the first 20 minutes, but this time it was OG who was running the Shadow Demon plus Terrorblade combo. As they attempted to siege Fnatic's high ground at 23 minutes, DJ basically wasted his ult on the Terrorblade, since Shadow Demon mitigated most of the damage by using Disruption on the TP. The ensuing fight turned out poorly for Fnatic, and Ember even had to fight back. The buyback set him back tremendously as it basically doubled his net worth gap between him and the other carries. In the end, it was too much for Fnatic to overcome as OG eventually took game number 1. In the second game, this time Fnatic was the one who got the illusion comp, and it turned out similar to their game 2 versus Digital Chaos. Luna had a very good farm, but he was barely edging ahead of the Juggernaut. The game deciding moment came at 37 minutes when Fnatic was sieging the Dire tier 2 with illusions. The Dire side decided to chase after them and did not turn out very well for them. Juggernaut winning 1v5 to tank most of the damage because he had the Aegis. However, after he respawned, he got extremely unlucky with the Omni slash jumps, as he otherwise could have killed the Luna. On the other hand, Ohio was able to catch Dazzle and Zeus in the Chrono Spear, arguably the 2 most important heroes, to prevent further healing and burst damage coming out of them. And just like in Game 2 versus Digital Chaos, they were able to take the racks in seconds after this fight thanks to Luna's insane pushing power, and thus tied up the series 1-1. In the final game of Day 1, Fnatic once again tried their Shadow Demon plus Terrorblade comp. However, the Terrorblade got shut down very hard in the lane as OG aggressive trialing against him, forcing him to buy an Iron Talon and retreat to the jungle. Even though Fanatic's mid lane Storm and off lane Omnia had a great time in lane, that never turned into any real advantage for them in teamfights. They tried really hard to force some teamfights in hope to snowball their Storm, but OG did not give Fnatic any chances, as Storm finished his Bloodstone plus Orchid 30 minutes already into the game. By then, OG's lead was way too big, and he was too far behind to do anything significant in the teamfights. Even though Terrorblade caught up in farm, the momentum was fully on OG's side. They were able to set up fights as their wishes, and ultimately OG took the series 2-1, advancing to the upper bracket final as many people would have expected from the 2-times major champion. And that concludes all the games from day 1 of the Summit 5, and this is how the bracket looks after day 1. And before I go, I'd just like to say that I really want to do these dailies recaps whenever possible, even though the first recap I did was almost 3 weeks ago, and that was for ESL1 Frankfurt. And I didn't do one for TI6 qualifiers and 9 championship, but that was mostly due to time constraints. However, I would definitely do these for Star Ladder next week, and probably the group stage of TI6 if time permits. So if you enjoyed these videos, please let me know by liking them, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. That would be greatly appreciated, and I will see you next time.